Hokage Hidden Ace, the time-traveling Hyuga who outshines Madara. Like, share and subscribe. Episode 21. Danzo is suspended from 3rd Hokage. Mito-sama, it's time to serve dinner. Shizuchi, who was temporarily captured as a prostitute, is still confused. What on earth did Uzumaki Mito want to see me for? You can't just ask me to cook a meal, right? Jingyi. Kushina jumped up in surprise, and Naoshu, who was rubbing his sore ears and grinning, also watched curiously. There has been no guest at home for a long time. The most surprising thing is that this guest is Kushina's friend. Naoki couldn't figure out how Shizuchi became friends with Kushina. After all, there was a big age difference between them. Are you happy? Uzumaki Mito smiled kindly. Kushina nodded excitedly. Yeah, Grandma Mito is the best. I have long wanted to invite Jingyi to be a guest, just because I was afraid that Grandma Mito would be unhappy. Silly boy. Uzumaki Mito hugged Kushina tightly. Seeing Kushina being treated as a treasure by her grandma, Shinshu started to feel bad. Jingyi, let me tell you, I met a few new friends at school, and there was a little yellow guy who also wanted to be friends with me, but I ignored him. At the dinner table, Kushina chattered and shared things about school, and even mentioned a certain little yellow guy. Don't talk nonsense. Tsunade gave Kushina a headache. Others are just little yellow hair, so what has become of you, Tsunade-san? At first, Tsunade was also curious about who the so-called Xiao Huangmao was. After knowing what Xiao Huangmao meant, she was very angry and wanted to kick her in the face. According to you, I, Tsunade, am the old yellow hair. Hehe, Sister Tsunade, it's still Sister Tsunade. Kushina smiled mischievously. As time went by, Kushina gradually became cheerful and became more cheerful as she gradually integrated into the family, with a much brighter smile than before. Uzumaki Mito was deeply relieved. This proved that her choice was right, and Jingyi did not let her down, even though Jingyi taught Kushina to become a violent little loli. Uzumaki Mito didn't see any problem. As a girl, why did you have a bad temper when you were a child? She had a bad temper when she was a child, and so did Tsunade. With the two of them walking in front, Kushina's little violence was nothing. The Senju ancestral home is very lively, as is the Hokage office. Danzo Shimura, Koharu, Mito Munin, and others all came, but Akamichi, who didn't like to get involved in things, still stayed at home and was lazy. The three of them stared at the 3rd Hokage, their intentions self-evident. The 3rd Hokage was not impatient and was still handling official duties. Hiruzen, Mito-sama, what do you mean by this? Do you want us to take Hyuga seriously? Uzumaki Mito's identity is too special and his status is too high. Every move he makes will have a great impact, just like inviting Shizuchi to Senju's ancestral home. This move directly made the F4 team unable to sit still. Tsunade and Uzumaki Mito just recognized Shizuchi, so it's okay to say that they can just deal with it as half of their own people. They don't take it seriously and won't take action against it. Now it's better, everyone has gone to Senju's ancestral home. Is this sending some kind of signal? Being stared at all the time, 3rd Hokage felt uncomfortable. Faced with the questioning from Koharu, who had moved to bed, he could only put down the documents in his hand, pick up the pipe, light it, and take a few puffs of the cigarette vigorously. Koharu, let's not rush to conclusions. I believe Mito-sama is not an impulsive person. She will definitely give us an explanation. Sarutobi, you are the Hokage of this village. As a Hokage, why do you have to watch something like this happen that is out of your control? What a Uzumaki Mito, what a unique identity, Hokage's authority is the greatest. If he became the Hokage, he would never allow this to happen. After being beaten, Shimura Danzo began to have a lot of dissatisfaction with Uzumaki Mito. Good guy. Did you Danzo take gunpowder? How dare you say such a thing? The 3rd Hokage closed his eyes helplessly and went to bed. Koharu was the most direct. He gave Shimura Danzo a roll of his eyes on the spot and turned his head aside in disgust, saying that he didn't want to talk to Shimura Danzo. I feel uncomfortable even if I look at you one more time. Mito Kabuto could only shake his head. He will not take the initiative to help 3rd Hokage reprimand Shimura Danzo, nor will he take the initiative to say good things to Shimura Danzo. Enough. Shimura Danzo was unwilling to give in, and the 3rd Hokage interrupted him with a roar. It is precisely because I am Hokage that I believe Mito-sama, Danzo, there is nothing else in your mind except ambition. Is it done? What's the meaning? Are you saying I have no brain? Shimura Danzo was stunned for a moment, and his angry face slowly darkened. On the surface, apart from his own strength, Uzumaki Mito only has the identity of first Hokage's wife. In reality, when the daimyo of the fire country encountered Uzumaki Mito, he would rush over to salute him first. They were all serious relatives. Why did the daimyo designate Tsunade as Princess of Konoha? In addition to trying to please Senju Hashirama, the big boss, I am here just because of the kinship relationship through marriage. To put it bluntly, as long as Uzumaki Mito expresses his dissatisfaction with 3rd Hokage, the Daiming Prefecture will immediately choke 3rd Hokage's neck. What it feels like to be stuck by a daimyo, the future Sand Shinobi village, is the best proof. Tighten your belt and get by. Although the country of fire is rich, the tax revenue belongs to the Daiming Prefecture and has nothing to do with Konoha. It is impossible for Konoha to be self-sufficient alone. Without the support of the Daiming Prefecture, Konoha's life will definitely be difficult. It's not easy just to be stuck. If we entrust various tasks to other villages, Konoha's finances will definitely collapse. Don't doubt that the daimyo can do such a thing. I dare to do this kind of thing, because the development of the village cannot be separated from the full support of the daimyo. Otherwise, there will be no situation where Konoha needs the support of the daimyo to replace Hokage. Sarutobi, what do you mean? The 3rd Hokage frowned and said, Duanzo, you are tired, go back and rest first. As for the Hokage's assistant position, I will put it on hold first, and come to see me again when you have figured it out. Becoming the Hokage assistant of 3rd Hokage is basically a vacant player, and the power in his hands is not even as good as that of the elders. But the Council of Elders would not accept a careerist like Danzo. 3rd Hokage will not easily delegate power to Shimura Danzo, which results in Shimura Danzo having a low sense of presence in the F4 Tendan. Sarutobi Hiruzen, are you going to take away my position? Danzo Shimura slapped the desk angrily. Don't forget, without my help and dedication, you can't sit here safely. Location. The 3rd Hokage smoked a cigarette and looked at the frustrated Shimura Danzo without saying a word. Without the support of rights, so-called ambition is actually empty talk. It is because Shimura Danzo's ambition is too great that 3rd Hokage will ignore him and make him, the Hokage assistant, an empty frame. It's better now, even the empty shells are gone. Are you just going to let him do whatever he wants? The elders have the power to stop Hokage from making some wrong decisions. Shimura Danzo places his hopes on Koharu and Mito Munin. Because the body of elders is centered around these two. Unfortunately, Mito Monitis never gets involved in this kind of thing. Episode 22, only Danzo's injured world is achieved. Go to bed. Koharu has already been so angry that he doesn't want to talk to Shimura Danzo, so he won't speak for him, and his inner thoughts are similar to those of 3rd Hokage. Shimura Danzo is becoming more and more lawless. He should be allowed to rest for a while and calm down. Otherwise, once what happened today reaches Uzumaki Mito's ears, the fun will be great. Good. Very good. With no one to speak for him, Shimura Danzo felt like a clown jumping up and down. Staring at Shimura Koharu and Mito Kabuto with angry eyes, Shimura Danzo turned and left the Hokage office. Looking at the back of Shimura Danzo leaving, he went to bed. Koharu said with some worry. Duanzo won't do anything drastic, right? No, he is an ambitious person and will not mess up at critical moments, otherwise he will never gain everyone's trust. The 3rd Hokage shook his head. If it were someone else, I would still have to worry about whether the other party would become angry and try their best to drag everyone into the water. It would be a life and death situation. I wouldn't be happy, and you wouldn't be safe either. But Shimura Danzo won't. In order to realize his ambition, Shimura Danzo knew how to endure. What about today? Do I need to report to Mito-sama? Later, I will go and meet Mr. Mito in person. Regardless of whether the news will reach the ears of Uzumaki Mito, 3rd Hokage must clarify its position and attitude. Even if it is just a show, it must let Uzumaki Mito see the result. He took a deep breath and put down the pipe in his hand. The 3rd Hokage stood up and looked out the window. Since Lord Mito values Hyuga Shizuchi, I might as well go over and help him with some small favors. That's fine. Transferring to bed, Koharu and Mito Munin know the meaning of 3rd Hokage. He is going to visit the Hyuga clan and completely solve the problem between the Hyuga clan and Shizuchi. After Koharu and Mito Monobu left for bed, the 3rd Hokage took people to the Hyuga clan land and chatted with the Hyuga clan leader for a while in the clan chief's courtyard. Jingyi would not have thought that Shimura Danzo's impulsiveness and unscrupulous words would indirectly help him a big favor. Otherwise, he must treat Shimura Danzo to a good meal as repayment. When I have nothing to do, I come here more often. The house is deserted, but there are many people and it's lively. When Jingyi left, Uzumaki Mito suddenly said this. Facing Uzumaki Mito's invitation, Shizuchi politely agreed and said he would come often in the future. Huh. It's finally over. After leaving Senju's ancestral home, Jingyi breathed out a heavy breath. Although Uzumaki Mito is a kind old man and has expressed goodwill to Shizuchi, Shizuchi has always been an outsider. It is better to avoid getting involved in such occasions. As for Uzumaki Mito's invitation, just accept it, but you can't take it seriously, and you mustn't just run towards Senju's ancestral home if you have nothing to do. Old people all want their children to be with them. After understanding Uzumaki Mito's intention, Shizuchi decided to refuse to let Tsunade have a meal in the future and let her go home to accompany Uzumaki Mito. It solves the loneliness problem of the elderly, and can also increase revenue and reduce expenditure, saving a lot of living expenses. Tsunade, this girl, is really scary for how many people she wants to talk to as soon as she opens her mouth. The most irritating thing is that others still eat and don't gain weight, and everything they eat grows where it should. If word spreads, it will definitely make countless women jealous to death. It's night. After a day's work, the third Hokage came to Senju's ancestral home. Uzumaki Mito has been waiting for a long time. Mito-sama. After the third Hokage saluted and said hello, he truthfully reported what happened in the Hokage's office to Uzumaki Mito, without any partiality or intention to speak for Shimura Danzo. Uzumaki Mito listened quietly. After a moment of silence, he sighed, since you think Danzo needs to rest for a while, then let's leave the position of Hokage's assistant vacant for a while. After saying that, Uzumaki Mito paused. Monkey, old lady, I'm already old. Maybe I can still hold on for 2 years. The older I get, the more I hope my children will be around. I think you can understand me, right? Just for this? The third Hokage mentally mourned for Shimura Danzo for 3 seconds. Don't worry, Mito-sama, the Hokage office will always be on your side. Everyone thought that Uzumaki Mito was hinting at something. The result is nothing. I just hope that my granddaughter can come back to accompany me more often. There are many people and it will be lively. As for Jingyi, it is completely incidental. Shimura Danzo didn't even get empty positions this time, which is really a bit unfair. At this moment, third Hokage felt inexplicably want to laugh. Danzo, you have been wrong this time. But you can't blame others, Shimura Danzo is so mean-mouthed. There is no airtight wall in the world. There are many Umbu ninjas guarding the Hokage office. These people can hear clearly what Shimura Danzo says. The third Hokage does not dare to gamble, and people like Umbu will be tight-lipped. Reporting this kind of thing face-to-face is a trivial matter. If it is concealed, once it is discovered, the problem will be big. So third Hokage chose to take Shimura Danzo's empty position, and then report to Uzumaki Mito to downplay the matter. Knowing that Shimura Danzo was rude to her, Uzumaki Mito would not take it seriously, because she knew that Shimura Danzo was such a person. Besides, if you don't take it seriously, it doesn't mean that Uzumaki Mito won't step on Shimura Danzo's kick. It can be expected that before her death, Shimura Danzo could not even get an empty position and could only stay at home. The Uzumaki Mito had a great impact on the village, and Koharu and Mito Kabuto couldn't get any accurate information when they moved to bed, so they couldn't even sleep peacefully. The two arrived at Hokage's office early in the morning. Third Hokage briefly described what happened last night when he went to see Uzumaki Mito. After listening, they went to bed. Koharu looked strange, and Mitoman looked serious, but this seriousness did not last long. After just 10 seconds, he managed to laugh. In other words, Danzo, this guy is shooting himself in the foot this time? Almost. The third Hokage also wanted to laugh, but he held back. Ha ha ha. Mito Menyen burst into laughter. After going to bed, Koharu also couldn't laugh or cry. After laughing for a while, third Hokage put away the smile on his face and said seriously to the two of them, there is no need to tell Danzo what happened today. Mito-sama means to let him rest at home for a while. Before Uzumaki Mito died, Danzo basically had no choice but to stay at home. Episode 23, The Rope Tree offers treasures and shows off the results of the victory. Third Hokage hopes that sleeping transfer Koharu and Mito Menon can take this matter seriously and never speak for Shimura Danzo, otherwise it will embarrass everyone. Don't worry, Hiruzen. We know the seriousness of the matter. I believe he doesn't have the face to beg me. Go to bed. Koharu is now very dissatisfied with Shimura Danzo. Not to mention that Shimura Danzo didn't have the nerve to come to beg her. Even if he came, she wouldn't help him. Only Mito Kabuto might be able to help. Don't look at me, I don't dare to help with this kind of thing. Danzo is so excited that he dares to say anything, but he has never thought about the consequences of offending Lord Mito. I agree with him to rest at home for a while. Seeing his two companions staring at him, Mito Kadoyan immediately stated that he would not help. Of course, he wouldn't dare to do such a favor. Then let Danzo rest for a while. Third Hokage made the decision. Tomorrow, on behalf of Mito-sama, I will go to Daimingfu. It is time for the village's financial allocation to be increased. Uzumaki Mito is not a free-spirited person. The third Hokage took away Shimura Danzo's empty position, and it was not in vain. He got the strong support of Uzumaki Mito and was able to go to the Daiming mansion to ask for a wave of money. With a letter written by Uzumaki Mito himself, the daimyo will definitely sell this face. Very good. As the village develops, money is needed everywhere. For money, their F4 team has a lot of troubles. Now it's good. If Shimura Danzo is taken away, we will have the support of Uzumaki Mito, and we can go to the Daiming mansion to ask for money openly. For third Hokage, this deal is a huge profit. If possible, he wouldn't mind stepping on Shimura Danzo a few more times. Moving to bed, Koharu and Mito Monahan sincerely thanked Shimura Danzo for his sacrifice. Without his sacrifice, how could the village ask the daimyo for money? His sacrifice must be worth it. After a period of time, Tsunade's visits to Shizu's family began to decrease. She would run home after get off work every day, trying hard to find time to stay with Uzumaki Mito. In order to spare time, Tsunade even skipped many classes in the medical department. Jingyi stood at the door of her home, her hand holding the key paused, then she unlocked the door, pushed the gate of opening, and walked into the home. As the door opened, the light in the living room became abundant, and the appearance of the uninvited guest was also illuminated. Jingyi closed the door, turned on the light, and said to the person sitting on the sofa, Orochimaru, I think you can come over when I'm home. Feel sorry. With a faint smile on his lips, Orochimaru stood up and explained, because it was very close to Shizuchi-kun's time to get off work, I came in directly. I hope there was no misunderstanding. This is the first shipment. The door-to-door service is good, but it's a bit strange to have it delivered to your home without a word and sitting on the sofa waiting. At least not many people would be able to accept it when they come home from get off work only to find that there is an uninvited guest at home who does not go through the main entrance. Picking up the scroll Orochimaru placed on the coffee table, Shizuchi opened the scroll and checked it. I have to say that Orochimaru's work efficiency is very reliable. After making a list of the quantities, I took a look at the bill that Orochimaru had calculated by himself. Jingyi didn't calculate it carefully. In this regard, Orochimaru still has credibility. Taking out the seal scroll, Shizuchi took out the same amount of money and motioned to Orochimaru to count it. Jingyi-kun, it's a pleasure to cooperate. Shizuchi didn't calculate the bill, and Orochimaru didn't count whether the money was enough. It is said that in addition to talent and hard work, ninjas also need a lot of money and resources to grow up. This is absolutely true. Just a batch of materials cost Jingyi nearly 2 million taels, and the small treasury was almost exhausted. No. Fortunately, his salary is high enough. You can still cope with such consumption. The speed at which medical ninja makes money is not for nothing. As long as you work hard and your medical skills are good enough, you will not worry about making money. Let's go slowly. Shizuchi asked Orochimaru without any courtesy. With fast work efficiency and credibility, Jingyi is happy to cooperate with people like Orochimaru. Of course, it is limited to cooperation on tasks. As for other aspects, forget it. He worries that he will become Orochimaru's next experimental subject. There is no doubt that this is something Orochimaru can do. This is destined that Shizuchi will not have a close relationship with Orochimaru, and the same goes for Jiraiya. He is not able to accept Jiraiya's weird hobbies. Once the materials are obtained, puppet production can begin. Dong dong dong. Jingyi, whose thoughts were interrupted, stood up and hit the gate of opening. Hi. Shingshu, who was standing at the door, smiled and said hello to Jingyi. Naoki has a familiar temperament. Since the last time he went to Senju's ancestral home, he has been running towards Jingyi's place. Jingyi leaned against the doorframe and said funnily. You didn't go home after school, and you threw Kushina away. Why did you come to me? If your sister knew, she would definitely beat you. Humph, I'm not afraid of her. Anyway, Tsunade is not here, and Naoki is very tough. When my sister was around, I was afraid of being beaten, so I was timid. When my sister was away, I had to be tough. Okay, you're not afraid of her. Jingyi laughed directly. Let the gate of opening signal the rope tree to come in. If anything happens, just tell me, I will be more, today. Watching Xingshu running in like a thief, closing the doors and windows, and taking out a few magazines-like books from his school bag as if he were offering treasures, Jingyi was stuck before he could finish his words. How about it, it's awesome. Xingshu proudly raised the book in his hand. I secretly saved a lot of pocket money without being discovered by my sister. I left school early today and quietly bought the latest editions, Jiraiya's favorite. Like-minded Jiraiya went out on a mission. So now she could only find a new friend, Jingyi, to show off his achievements. Looking at the little girl on the cover, the corner of Jingyi's mouth twitched a few times. Children in the ninja world are usually relatively mature, and due to the influence of a certain voyeur, Nezuki's hobbies are a bit sexy. Whose age child would buy from Imperial Uncle? What's outrageous is that I actually bought it. Jingyi slapped his forehead. The problem is that there is no other use for buying this thing other than to satisfy your eyes, so why bother? It was not easy to save some pocket money under Tsunade's nose, but she ended up buying these things. I like this one the most. Ozawa is so cute, hee. It's hard to imagine an 8-year-old child holding several copies of Emperor's Uncle in his hands and making such a lewd and obscene laugh. Jingyi felt that his 3 views were shattered. Jiraiya did a lot of harm to the boy. Episode 24, being caught on the spot by Tsunade. Pushing away the book Naoki handed him, Jingyi turned around and walked into the kitchen. He had to have a good talk with Tsunade tomorrow, so he had to beat his brother as early as possible. Seeing that Jingyi ignored him and walked directly into the kitchen, Xingshu was worried that he would complain, so he followed him. Jingyi, I treat you as a friend, you can't complain to my sister. After washing the rice, adding water and putting it on the stove, Jingyi turned around and said, Then you mean, I need to help you hide it? Of course, we are friends. Friends? How could you betray your friends? Xingshu replied matter-of-factly. Jingyi. My dear friend, you are looking at little Emperor Uncle, kid, don't you realize that the matter is serious? He took out 2 potatoes from the cabinet, Jingyi peeled the potatoes and asked, Xingshu, do you really like reading these books? Of course, what man doesn't like it? Now Shu felt that he was right. Don't you like reading this kind of book, Jingyi? Or do you just not like girls? Ahem. Jingyi, who was peeling potatoes, didn't even cut himself with a knife. This was a bit lethal. Speechlessly, Jingyi put down the knife and potatoes in his hands, and said seriously to Xingshu. Of course I like to watch it, but I won't watch it until I grow up. Also, my sexual orientation is normal, and I also like pretty and cute girls. Why didn't you watch it before you grew up? To see this thing, do we need to distinguish age? Naoki felt a little strange, after all, Jiraiya would not instill such words in him. I will only take him with me, hey. Jingyi spread his hands, because it's useless to look at it before you grow up. If you think about it carefully, Jiraiya takes you to see these things. He can go out and have fun, but can you? Facing Jingyi's inquiry, the smile on Naoki's face froze. He seemed to have thought that Jiraiya liked to go to certain places, but he couldn't go to those places, and if he wanted to follow him, Jiraiya would drive him away. So, it's not easy to save pocket money, especially it's not easy to save pocket money under your sister's nose. Don't waste money on such useless things in the future. If you like to watch it, when you grow up, you have plenty of time to look at it, so you won't be criticized by others, and you won't be judged as inferior, do you understand? Facing Jingyi's teachings, Naoki blinked blankly. Jingyi, what do you mean, I should save more money and wait until I grow up, so that I can help Jiraiya to help my beautiful big sister? Fuck. Jingyi accidentally ducked her waist. Ah, yes, everything you said is right. Tired. It's up to you, as long as you're not afraid of your sister beating you up. Why does Jingyi's tone sound so perfunctory? I can't figure it out, so let's just read the book first. So. Jingyi in the kitchen kept hearing obscene laughter coming from the living room, which made him sigh, what a sin. After eating, Jingyi decisively drove away the rope tree that Lai didn't want to leave. This little brat is so good that he doesn't learn anything, but he only knows how to make things difficult. Jingyi didn't want to take the blame for teaching bad children. It's better to leave the scapegoat to Jiraiya. After all, Naoki likes these things, and he taught them all. I hope my sister will work overtime today. After returning home, Shinshu cautiously looked around, like a guilty thief, fearing that someone would discover him. Great, no one. The yard was very quiet, and there was no sound coming from the house. At this time, Uzumaki Mido should be teaching Kushina the unique sealing techniques of the Uzumaki clan. As for Tsunade, she was either working overtime or resting in her room. After confirming that there was no danger, Shinshu walked into the yard openly. Stop. It's over. Hearing the voice coming from behind, the smile on Naoshu's face instantly froze, and his body seemed to be nailed to the spot by a restraining spell, motionless. Why did you come back now? Where did you go crazy? Tsunade skillfully twisted Nasuki's ears and said viciously. I warn you every morning to come back right after school and spend more time with grandma. What do you do? Naoki came back too late, so Tsunade could only say a few words to him, but would not take it seriously. Children of 8 or 9 years old are naturally playful. But when Shinshu came home, he seemed to be a thief, which was a bit of a problem. After discovering this, Tsunade hid. She wanted to see what Naoki, the brat, was sneaking up on. Ah, it hurts. Sister, my ears are going to fall off. Now she screamed in pain, hoping that his sister would be merciful. Tell me honestly where you went. Tsunade remained unmoved, because she knew how much force she had used. This amount of force would at most cause Naoki some pain. As for her ears being twisted off, it was completely nonsense. The elder sister's beating of the younger brother was entirely due to the suppression of her bloodline. Shinshu decisively confessed, I went to Jing's family, ate at his house, and then came back. I didn't go anywhere else. Don't you see it? You kid has learned how to find a place to eat. Tsunade let go of Naoshu's ears. She believed that Naoshu wouldn't dare to lie to her. Besides, it's just that I came back a little late. A small lesson is enough, there is no need to make a big fuss. It's so abominable, you're going to deal with me again. Shinshu covered his ears with an expression that he dared not speak in anger. You're still staring. Tsunade, who wanted to just let the rope tree go, saw her brother glaring at her, so she slapped him. The unprepared Shinshu was shot directly, and the book hidden in his clothes fell to the ground. Tsunade had the habit of going through his school bag to check his homework. In order to prevent being discovered, Naoki stuffed the emperor's uncle into his clothes and hid it. It was well hidden at first, but after Tsunade patted him, he fell out. What the hell? Tsunade looked down and her eyes gradually widened. It's over, Miyazawa, the book I just bought. No, the book is no longer important, I'm dead. Who will save me? Picking up the book on the ground and flipping through it twice, Tsunade tilted her head and took a sip, then smiled coldly at the rope tree. Will you take the initiative to confess, or will you be beaten first and then confess? I bought it with my pocket money. I just bought it today. So you went to Jing's house just to see this? No, Hyuga Jingyi also read this? As soon as the words came out of her mouth, Tsunade realized something was wrong. Shinshu scratched his head awkwardly and smiled. He drove me away and told me that it would be better for children not to watch it until they grow up. Rare. Now it was Tsunade's turn to be surprised. Not only did Hyuga not look at it, but he also educated Naoshu and even drove him away. In Tsunade's impression, Orochimaru is not interested in these things, and as for the others, they are basically like birds. From 3rd Hokage to Jiraiya, to some male ninjas I know. Every one of them counts, and it is almost impossible for them to escape. Even if there is someone who can run away, he will not educate his children with serious words and sincerity like Jingyi, not to look at these things. Sister Tsunade, what are you doing? Although Tsunade often beat her brother, this was the first time she saw Naoki standing while holding his school bag. Shame on you. Shinshu's face was as red as a monkey's butt. He lowered his head guiltily and honestly raised his school bag. Episode 25 Jiraiya seems more suitable than Orochimaru. Fine. Tsunade put the little uncle away and waved to Kushina, go to the room and rest quickly. Your brother Shinshu made a little mistake and I am educating him. Kushina is still young, so she can't let her see these messy books. Otherwise, Naoki will have to be unlucky again, and even she, Tsunade, will have to deal with it. Oh. Kushina could only look at Naoshu sympathetically, but did not dare to help and plead for mercy, and went back to the room to rest obediently. After Kushina left, Uzumaki Mito's voice came from the living room. If the child is disobedient, it's probably because of an itchy skin. Just give him a spanking. Being lustful is not a problem, and third Hokage is one of them, but being lustful does not prevent him from becoming a Hokage and a ninja hero in the ninja world. But something is wrong if a child has such a tendency before he grows up. It needs to be tidied up. Grandmother? It's okay if you don't save me, why are you adding insult to injury? My sister didn't want to hit me in the first place, but now I'm dead. Shingshu's eyes widened and he couldn't believe what was coming from his grandma's mouth. Your boy is dead. After receiving Uzumaki Mito's order, Tsunade laughed and tore the book into pieces, then rubbed her wrists and walked towards the rope tree. Sister, no, I was wrong, I didn't dare. Brother Shingshu is so miserable. Kushina, who was hiding in her room and listening to the screams outside, could only observe 3 seconds of silence for the rope tree. Uzumaki Mito gave the order and Tsunade took action herself. No one could save the rope tree. Even if Senju Hashirama and Senju Tobarama were resurrected, they could only hide when facing Uzumaki Mito. While the rope tree was suffering, Jingyi also began to process materials and start making puppets. First, you need to process the animal carcass and remove unnecessary parts, such as internal organs. Orochimaru doesn't go out of his way to clean the internal organs. Shizuchi needs to do these tasks himself. Because the amount of materials was a bit large, it took a lot of Jingyi's time, so that when he went to work the next day, he looked like he hadn't woken up. There was a more important surgery today. Tsunade did not report to the medical department, but came directly to the hospital. Seeing Shizuchi, who was yawning profusely, and Tsunade, who was drinking tea with her legs crossed, she looked him up and down. What's wrong? After reading the book Shingshu bought, you couldn't sleep last night? What the hell? Raising her hands, Jing was stunned for a moment when she was about to stretch. Did you find out about Shingshu buying books? I was still thinking about whether I should tell you that it's not good for children to read these things. I personally caught that bastard and punished him severely. Speaking of this, Tsunade became angry. Yesterday, Naoki was severely beaten, and she was still limping when she went to school today. Tsunade didn't even help him with treatment, just to give him a long memory. It's time to take care of it. If you just accidentally saw it out of curiosity, it's nothing. If you go out to see it. Jingyi didn't know how to express his feelings. This naughty boy Shingshu was only 8 years old. 8 years old. Is this what an 8-year-old is supposed to do? I will tell Jiraiya to stay away from him in the future. Tsunade's face didn't look very good either. Jiraiya, he's just a lustful person, but he also brings up a bad child. This bastard still wants Shingshu to become his disciple. I simply can't imagine what will become of Shingshu if he really becomes his disciple. Naoki is 8 years old and is getting closer to graduating from ninja school. Tsunade has already begun to consider finding a qualified teacher for him. After Jiraiya found out, he kept recommending himself. Unfortunately, Tsunade ignored her. Jiraiya became Nezuki's teacher? Shizuchi poured himself a glass of water. If Jiraiya has many problems in other aspects, then his ability to teach his disciples is definitely top-notch. Although Orochimaru is not bad, it is better to stay away from people like Orochimaru if possible. Too extreme. It is completely a potential bomb. You never know when it will explode and fall into the embrace of darkness. I think it's okay. So I plan to find Orochimaru and let him become the teacher of the rope tree. The rope tree also has the same idea. He admires it very much. Jingyi was one of his own, and Tsunade didn't mind telling him these things, but before she finished speaking, she looked up in surprise. What did you say? Jingyi put down the cup in his hand and said seriously. I said Jiraiya should be a good teacher. As for Orochimaru, I personally don't agree very much. Why? Tsunade folded her hands and leaned back. She wanted to know why Jingyi had such thoughts. It feels like, personally, I don't want to come into contact with people like Orochimaru. When you are with him, you feel like there is a lion majesty hiding in the darkness staring at you. Of course, this is just my personal opinion. Shingshu is your brother, and it is up to you, the elder sister, to decide on finding a teacher. Orochimaru is a good teacher and loves the rope tree, but Shizuchi prefers Jiraiya. Even Jiraiya can teach bad children. At least except for the aspect of making a lot of money, Jiraiya's education method is to guide his disciples to grow in a positive direction, while Orochimaru is a bit hard to describe. Is it like contacting a lion majesty? Tsunade was lost in thought. Because Shizuchi is not the first person to say this, many people who have come into contact with Orochimaru feel this way. The rope tree usually likes to follow Jiraiya, but the person he admires is Orochimaru. Because of this, Tsunade had the idea of giving the rope tree to Orochimaru. Instead of letting the village arrange the ninja team, give it directly to Orochimaru and become a separate disciple. This kind of mentor-disciple relationship is more reliable. Aha! Did you commit a crime last night? Seeing Jingyi yawning several times in a short while, Tsunade couldn't help but frown. There was an important surgery waiting for them today. Can Jingyi do it in this state? When treating patients, no joking is allowed. No. Jingyi shook his head and said, yesterday Orochimaru gave me the first batch of materials, so I processed them overnight. After processing them, it was quite late, so I didn't get enough sleep. It won't affect today's surgery, don't worry. That's good. Since Jingyi promised that it would not affect today's surgery, Tsunade said no more. Taking advantage of the fact that there were fewer patients in the morning, Jingyi squinted for a while, and then his mental state improved. Simply staying up late won't make people sleepy like this. For ninjas, staying up late is commonplace and nothing. The reason why I feel so tired after being quiet for a while is because I have to concentrate on processing the materials. During today's surgery, Jingyi was responsible for being Tsunade's assistant. The operation went smoothly. From the moment she walked out of the operating room, Tsunade's slightly raised corners of her mouth were harder to suppress than AK's. In Jingyi's words, with her salary in hand and her bulging pockets, Tsunade Heim has the capital to start flying. As for how many days this money can keep Tsunade G floating, I'm afraid only God knows. I'll go to your house for dinner later, and I'll go to the market to buy groceries. I'll also see what kind of puppet you make. Tsunade Heim is in a good mood and plans to pay some living expenses. Can. Jing nodded in agreement. He just needs to use Tsunade Heim to spread the news about the special puppet. Tsunade takes the initiative to come to the door, which is the best. It's just a meal, a trivial matter. Episode 26, Giving the Puppet Life. After the salary arrived, let alone Tsunade, even Jingyi felt a little itchy. Of course, he won't go to the casino, but wants to buy a batch of high-quality materials and parts for making puppets. Jingyi has no interest in doing the Big Fat Sheep second-generation project. Although there are very few puppet ninjas in Konoha, there are formal channels for purchasing materials in the village. After get off work, Jingyi said to Tsunade, you go to the market to buy vegetables, and I will buy a batch of materials and parts. The materials I prepared are not enough, and I need to buy another batch. Go, don't waste time, I have important things tonight. Tsunade waved her hand nonchalantly, urging Shizuma to go away and come back quickly. As for what's important, you don't have to guess. You have money in your pocket, and then your hands start to feel itchy. Tsunade will never settle down unless she loses all the money in her pocket. Buy the ingredients and then go home and cook. After finishing the meal, Tsunade lay on the sofa and looked curiously at Shizuchi, who was in a busy state. Various materials were taken out from the sealed scroll, including an animal corpse. A tiger that is more than 3 meters tall, not counting its tail that is more than 6 meters long. Such a huge body, if it were in the previous life, would definitely make countless people scream. But in the ninja world, a creature of this size is nothing. There are many creatures as huge as hills in the ninja world. The space in the living room is limited, so Jingyi can only choose smaller materials to start making. As for those who are large, they can only wait for a rest and find an open place to make them. Otherwise, if the corpses are moved out, the house will collapse. Seeing Jingyi implanting various materials into the tiger's body, Tsunade, who was originally lying on the sofa, had already sat up. She was very curious as to why Jingyi made such a puppet. Puppet masters are not exclusive to Sand Shinobi Village. There are puppet ninjas in the 5 major ninja villages, but Sand Shinobi Village has more of them. But no matter which village the puppet ninja makes, most of the puppets they make are humanoid. Even if there are puppets in the shape of animals, they are rarely made from animal carcasses, and most of them are directly assembled from parts. Therefore, the puppet made in this way is not beautiful. And the puppets made from corpses are even more difficult to describe. Puppet ninjas who do this are not popular. After all, no one likes to hang out with people who play with corpses, except for the group of puppet ninjas in Sand Shinobi Village. Soon, various parts were assembled, a few chakra silk threads were fluttering in Jingyi's hands, and the body lying on the ground slowly stood up. The tiger, which was originally a corpse, stood up. Its 3-meter-tall body was filled with considerable pressure. Unfortunately, the movements are very stiff. Failure. Tsunade took one look and lost interest. For her, the puppet made by Jingyi was too focused on the form of the creature when it was alive, which directly caused the puppet to become a failure. Without the various attack methods that ordinary puppets should have, what use can such a puppet be? As a consumable? That's too wasteful. Jingyi stood thoughtfully in front of the puppet, raised his hand and placed it on the puppet, closing his eyes and feeling something. What the hell is this kid doing? Watching Jingyi think for a while and tossing the puppet for a while, Tsunade couldn't figure out what he was trying to do. It was obvious that the puppet was useless. Either use it as a souvenir or dismantle it and reuse it. If you recycle the waste, you can also harvest a piece of tiger skin and some recyclable parts. People are always full of special feelings for their first work, and they are reluctant to give up even if it is a failure. Tsunade felt that she could understand Shizuchi's mood. She thought Jingyi felt the same as when she first prepared a special medicine. You can study it slowly by yourself. I'm going back first. I have 2 classes tonight. After being left alone and bored for a long time, Shizuchi saw that his mind was focused on the puppet, just like Orochimaru when he was doing experiments. Tsunade knew that it was unnecessary for her to stay here, so she simply left as soon as possible. Jingyi responded casually, keeping his eyes on the puppet, not even looking back to say goodbye to Tsunade. Take it easy yourself. Medical ninjutsu combined with strange strength and physical skills has given you the strength to protect yourself. There is no need to waste too much time on puppets. Bump. Looking back at the closed door, Jingyi raised the corners of her mouth slightly. Is making puppets really a waste of time? Raise your hand and place your hand on the puppet. As chakra entered the control core of the puppet, which originally required chakra silk threads to control and whose movements were very stiff, suddenly lit up. The puppet comes to life. This is the fundamental reason why Jingyi made puppets. The Tsangikan can give life to the puppets, so he doesn't need to make traditional puppets like Sand Shinobi Village. After the tiger puppet was given life, it moved around the living room flexibly like a living creature and made various tricky moves. It was just that the floor had poor bearing capacity and kept making creaking sounds, so it could be stepped on at any time. Break. Get down. Immediately the puppet lay down and stayed there. For the sake of the floor at home, Jingyi felt that in the future, making puppets should be done outside the village. Although there are many hidden places in the village, third Hokage, an old guy, just sits in the Hokage office and looks around with a crystal ball in his hand. Jingyi didn't want to expose the secret of the puppet at this time. Make another flying puppet, then keep the remaining materials, leave the village during the holidays, and find a hidden place outside the village to slowly make it. By the way, you can test the puppet's strength. For a while, Jingyi focused most of his energy on making puppets. Fortunately, he went to work normally every day and his work was not affected by the puppets. Time flies by, and it is the end of the year. The lush wooden leaves are covered with snow, and people walking on the street are wearing thick cotton clothes. Somehow, Jingyi felt that the fetal movement of the reincarnated I was coming soon, and it might start after the new year. However, this kind of weather is most suitable for lying at home and sealing yourself up with a quilt. Huh. Jingyi yawned, holding the things he bought from the market in his hand. It was a bit annoying to be arrested early in the morning and run to the market to buy things. However, he was helpless when he met Tsunade, an unreasonable bandit. Kushina and Naoki could only shout a few times, but unlike Tsunade, this female bandit would rush directly to the bedroom and lift the quilt. Back home, Jingyi began to direct Tsunade and Naoshu, who wanted to be lazy, to work. The barbecue grill was set up, Tsunade was responsible for burning the charcoal, Naoki and Kushina were responsible for running errands, and Shizuchi was responsible for the barbecue. The marinated meat was placed on the grill and the aroma of barbecue soon emitted. As various seasonings were sprinkled on it, Tsunade, Kushina, and Naoki all began to swallow their saliva. This barbecue is so fragrant. After feeling that the heat was about the same, Jingyi picked up the brush and started to apply oil. After waiting for a few minutes, he announced, "You can start eating." Before she finished speaking, Tsunade, who was already extremely thirsty, picked up a fork, picked up a large piece of meat, and took a hard bite. "Huh, it smells so good, hiss, it's hot. If you don't become a medical ninja and open a barbecue restaurant, you can definitely make a lot of money. I want it too." Shingshu followed suit, holding a fork, picking up a piece of meat and gnawing on it, and was burned until he grinned. Kushina, don't be like them, you're like a starving ghost. Jingyi picked up 2 pieces of beef, cut the beef into pieces, put them on the plate, and then handed them to Kushina. Thank you, Jingyi, you are so kind. Kushina was very happy, and her beautiful big eyes turned into crescent moons when she smiled. You are the one who is starving to death. Tsunade almost choked to death at these words and gave Shizuchi a big roll of his eyes. Episode 27 Jingyi, do you like Sister Tsunade? Shizuchi ignored Tsunade, cut a piece of meat himself, sat next to Kushina, and ate together. In addition to meat, he also prepared fruit salad, as well as juice. There are also greasy vegetables. Although they were pulled up early in the morning to buy groceries, in such weather, several people gathered around the fire to eat fragrant barbecue, and the atmosphere was very good. In order to prevent a certain bandit who asked for 3 portions from not having enough to eat, Jingyi bought some more meat. After eating a plate of meat and some fruit salad, Jingyi felt full. Kushina is similar, Naoki and Tsunade are more powerful in combat, and they are still building up their strength this time. Looking at the way these 2 siblings eat meat, Jingyi can only say that they are indeed siblings. Kushina, have you made any new friends in school recently? No, only half. After knocking out all the teeth of her classmates on the first day of school, Kushina became the little bully in the class, and almost no one dared to provoke her. Similarly, the classmates in the class are afraid of her and dare not approach her. Half? Can a friend still have half? Jingyi was stunned for a moment and couldn't help but laugh. It was strange for a child to have half a friend. Yes, just half. Kushina held her little hands and hummed, his name is Namikaze Minato, he is the little yellow-haired boy I mentioned last time. He is the only one in the class who is willing to be my friend, and he is not afraid of my cruelty. Tisk. How should I put it? He is indeed a little yellow-haired man. Shizuchi asked, does Kushina like Minato as a friend? Dislike. Kushina said angrily, he is only half a friend of mine, and he looks silly. He just knows how to giggle, just like brother Shinshu. Ahem. Sushu, who was eating meat, almost choked to death. Kushina, who are you calling stupid? Am I that stupid? Humph, Mikoto's sister also said you were stupid. Kushina gave the rope tree a critical hit with her backhand, which was a super double. In an instant, Naoshu felt that the barbecue in his hand was no longer fragrant. Because of the age difference, apart from taking care of Kushina, Naoshu doesn't like to play with Kushina. He thinks Kushina is childish, and Kushina thinks he is stupid. The brother and sister dislike each other. Ha ha ha. Jingyi smiled and felt her stomach hurt. Tsunade also found it funny. Silly brother, now you know your own situation, even Kushina thinks you are stupid. Uchiha Mikoto is recognized as a talented girl in the school. With her beautiful appearance and gentle temperament, she has become the white moonlight in the hearts of countless male classmates. Although Naoki doesn't regard Uchiha Mikoto as a white moonlight, he can't run away if he has a good impression. This led to Kushina complaining about being stupid, and Naoki was just unhappy. When it was replaced by Uchiha Mikoto, Naoki instantly became autistic. If the girl I like says she is silly, not many people can still laugh. Change it as soon as possible. You are still young and still have many opportunities. Jingyi rubbed her belly and patted Shinshu on the shoulder. Why? Naoki is not convinced, why can others like Uchiha Mikoto, but I can't? Jingyi was at a loss and gave Tsunade a look. Are you sure you don't want to teach your brother? Tsunade just pretended not to see it. Jingyi, can I bring my friend over as a guest? Kushina took Jingyi's hand and shook it hard, looking at him eagerly. Okay, Kushina's friends are my friends. If you are willing, bring them over. Jingyi had a big headache for a while, and this irritable little pepper started acting like a spoiled child, which was really unbearable. But not until my mission is over. Yeah, Jingyi, you are so kind. I like you the most. We are committed. Kushina jumped with joy. Tsunade couldn't help but joke. Kushina, do you know what liking is? Of course I know. If you like it, you just like it. Children in the ninja world mature precociously, and the same goes for emotions, but it's a little difficult to express them. No, Kushina hesitated for a while, without giving a clear answer. This kid, Tsunade, tried hard not to laugh. She tried hard to express, but found that she couldn't express clearly. Kushina became anxious, it's just like brother Nezu loves sister Mikoto. Pfft. The meat in Shinshu's mouth spurted out all the way. Don't listen to her. If you like this kind of thing, you will understand when you grow up. Your sister Tsunade is even confused herself. Jingyi patted Kushina's little head. You also said that I like to entertain children when I have nothing to do. What about you? Seeing that the child was so anxious, he pulled out the rope tree and carried it on his back. Why? Kushina raised her head blankly. Shingshu, who finally found the opportunity, answered loudly, because my sister has not found anyone she likes, and no one dares to like her. Jingyi, am I right? This. You are so smart. After taking a look at Tsunade, who could no longer laugh, Jingyi thought it would be better to stay away, so she picked up Kushina and ran towards the house. As for the rope tree, he can only say that you were just asking for your blessings. Sister, I was wrong, I was really wrong, It hurts. The screams of the rope tree were heard outside the house. Jingyi and Kushina were sitting on the sofa. Kushina stretched out her head and peeked outside cautiously. Too bad. Shizuchi, is it true that no one likes Tsunade-san? Kushina asked quietly. Jingyi blinked, lowered his head and replied softly, of course not, it's just that most people don't dare to say it even if they like it. So that's it. Kushina showed a look of realization. So, does Tsunade-san have someone she likes? Where do you get so many problems? Jingyi, do you like Sister Tsunade? If you like Sister Tsunade, don't you dare to say it? After eating and drinking, Tsunade quickly left with Kushina and the bruised Naoki. Shizuchi finally had time to seal himself. In the door of a tavern next to the Shimura tribe, the third Hokage who had come by invitation sat opposite Shimura Danzo. Then he picked up the wine glass on the table and took a sip of the wine in the glass. Do one thing for me. The third Hokage frowned when he heard this and refused. Sorry, I promised Mr. Mito that your position. Unnecessary. Shimura Danzo clenched the wine glass in his hand, gritted his teeth, and said, send Hyuga out. As for the position of Hokage's assistant, I will get it back sooner or later. What does this guy want to do? Episode 28. It's a great thing to get paid while you're idle. Danzo, Hyuga Shizuchi is the person Mito-sama and Tsunade like. Third Hokage doesn't know what Shimura Danzo wants to do, but he wants to warn the other party first not to cause trouble, otherwise it will be bad for everyone. Sacrificing me for a boy with white eye degenerative disease? Shimura Danzo pounded the table angrily. I just don't want to see him in the village. As long as he leaves the village, I will not continue to target him. Third Hokage didn't believe everything Shimura Danzo said. Danzo Shimura tried every means to get Shizuchi out of the village, he must have bad intentions. The third Hokage frowned and remained silent, without responding. Shimura Danzo approached further. Sarutobi, don't forget that he is a member of the Hyuga clan after all, and there is a caged bird seal on his head. As long as the Hyuga clan exists, there will always be a sword hanging on his head. Can you guarantee that when Hyuga Shizuchi becomes the second Tsunade, the Hyuga clan will not regret it? Half a person is still half a person. The seal of the caged bird will not be broken for a day, and the people in the Hyuga branch house will always be controlled by the clan. After saying that, Shimura Danzo stared at the third Hokage, waiting for his answer. The third Hokage drank wine dully and didn't speak for a long time. The only sounds in the tavern were the pouring and drinking of wine. I don't know how much time had passed. After finishing a bottle of sake, third Hokage stood up and walked toward the door with a hint of red on his face. The new year is approaching, and people in border camps need to be rotated. This matter needs to be taken by the elders. Third Hokage is only willing to push the tide, but for Shimura Danzo, he has already got the result he wanted. That night, Shimura Danzo went to Mito Manabu's residence. The next day, a document for the rotation of the border camp was placed on third Hokage's desk. The next step was to select a group of ninjas, go to the border camp, and replace the ninjas who had been stationed for the longest time. The medical ninja is also in the rotating lineup. So Jingyi's name appeared on the big list. Jingyi knew nothing about this until someone from the Hokage office building came to inform him that he was ready to go. In other words, when the time comes for a group of ninjas to be stationed in the border camp, the village will select a group of ninjas to rotate, and I am on the rotation list? Is someone trying to mess with me, or is it really coming to my head? I don't know about this either. Please prepare as soon as possible. We will set off in 3 days. The staff of the Hokage office building are only responsible for informing the parties, and they do not know anything else. After seeing off the staff, Jingyi walked towards the lounge. There is a stove burning in the lounge, which makes the small lounge warm. In the cold weather, staying in a warm room will make people feel sleepy. No, Tsunade was lying on the table and fell asleep. Stop sleeping and look at this for me. Shizuchi pushed Tsunade. Tsunade woke up from her sleep and wiped the corners of her mouth subconsciously to make sure there was no drooling before picking up the notice on the table. Border rotation? Maybe she just woke up and was still a little confused. Tsunade looked carefully for a while, then suddenly showed an irritated expression and scratched her hair hard. Why did it hit me? It's so annoying. I thought I could have a peaceful new year. Tsunade, who was angry about getting out of bed, was in an even worse mood and started swearing. It was only when she looked down that she realized that this was not my name. You were drawn? Otherwise, Jingyi said speechlessly, I always thought that people with regular jobs in the village were not within this scope. How is that possible? Tsunade put down the notice, raised her hands high and stretched, and explained, as long as you are a ninja in the village, you will be drawn sometimes. After all, no one wants to go to the border camp to guard and perform boring tasks every day, can't go home yet. When the team was disbanded last year, the unlucky guy Jiraiya was drawn. Thinking of this, Tsunade gloated and laughed. So when I was drawn, didn't someone deliberately mess with me? You can go with peace of mind. Medical ninjas are very free. They don't need to perform various patrol tasks. They only need to treat the injured when they are injured. The rest of the time you will be free, and your salary will be paid while you are stationed. So, stationed at the border seems pretty good? When working in a hospital, you have to treat patients every day. When you go to a border camp, unless there is a fight, the medical ninjas have nothing to do. Tsunade shrugged her shoulders, as long as you don't feel bored and have nothing to do, then it's really good. You can get paid even if you're idle. Are the other ninjas treated the same? Jingyi was curious. Tsunade pouted, do you think it's possible? If all people had such benefits, the village would have gone bankrupt long ago. Only ninjas with special professions, such as medical ninjas and sealed ninjas, receive such benefits. Medical ninjas and sealed ninjas are special and rare ninjas, so their benefits are so good. As for ordinary ninjas, they don't get such good treatment. Then I'll go back and pack my things first so that there's nothing in the camp. You don't need to bring other things, but you must bring more seasonings. When you have nothing to do, you can make yourself something delicious. As for the ingredients, you can just take them locally. As long as you are within the kingdom of fire, there will be no shortage of forests and no shortage of prey. This can also be regarded as the benefit of abundant resources. If this were changed to the kingdom of wind, and you wanted to hunt, you could just as easily catch lizards in the desert. Jingyi didn't tell Kushina that he was leaving the village to station at the border, otherwise the little girl would definitely be reluctant to let him go. 3 days passed by in a flash, and Jingyi, who was fully prepared, came to the training ground to gather. Ninjas heading to the border camp will gather at the training ground and then leave the village together. The border operation area will not be built very large, and the purpose of the camp is to prevent the enemy from launching a surprise attack. As long as there is any disturbance on the border, the camp can immediately pass the news back in various ways, so that the village has room to prepare. Therefore, there will not be many ninjas stationed in the border camps. There are only a few dozen people in one camp. Shizuchi is the only medical ninja among this group of people. Some familiar ninjas gathered together to chat. I also promised my wife that I would spend a lively new year with her, but I was unlucky and needed to be stationed at the border. Forget it, I was about to propose to my girlfriend, and the notice came. Ha ha ha, I hope that when you come back, your girlfriend will still be your girlfriend. Roll, roll, roll. By the way, who is the medical ninja in the camp? Let's get to know each other first so that if you have any questions later, you can ask others for help. Whether in a village or in a camp, medical ninjas are the kind of people who need to be supported. Far away in the border camp, if you are injured, it will be fatal if you don't get treatment. In the past, someone had offended the medical ninja in the camp. When he was injured, the medical ninja deliberately delayed it, causing his life to die. Episode 29, Tsunade's Special Care. Hello everyone, my name is Hyuga Jingyi, nice to meet you all. A group of people were looking for medical ninjas everywhere. Jingyi couldn't stand standing at the edge anymore, so he walked out and introduced himself. Go, let's find a medical ninja. Why are you, a member of the Hyuga clan, joining in the fun? He's a member of the Hyuga clan, look at his eyes. There are no Hyuga people with a blank eye. Everyone discovered Hua Dian, and everyone stared at Jingyi curiously, wanting to know what was going on with his eyes. At this time, two ninjas wearing Jonin vests walked into the training ground. Among them, Jonin, who had long black hair, shouted loudly, "Quiet." The training ground became quiet for an instant, and the long-haired Jonin said loudly, "My name is Honda, you can call me Captain Honda. I hope that I can get along well with you all while stationed at the border. Now let's start the roll call." When it was Jingyi's turn, Honda looked at him twice to make sure it was correct, before nodding and moving on to the next one. As written in the information, people from the Hyuga clan suffer from degenerative Byakugan disease. In order to treat themselves, they study hard and eventually become medical ninjas. Everyone on the rotation roster is here. The Jonin standing next to Honda is called Sarutobi Mishima, and his position is the deputy captain of the camp. After confirming that everyone was here, Honda waved and said, "Let's go." Under the leadership of the two captains, dozens of people followed, leaving the village together and rushing towards the border. Except for the two captains, no one knew which camp they would go to for rotation. After leaving the village, Sarutobi Mishima came to Shizuchi specifically to build a relationship with him. As the only medical ninja in the camp, you must have a good relationship. Otherwise, the medical ninja will offend you. At least he will deliberately mess with you, and in serious cases, he will kill you without you knowing what happened. The branch house is no joke. As a student brought out by Tsunade herself, Jingyi can also play with poison. Before departure, Tsunade came to see me, hoping to give you some rights to move freely. I don't know if Tsunade will accept the promise of her body. Ever since the day she met her, Tsunade had been really good to him, and had almost never sought anything in return other than giving him food. When something happens, Tsunade will take the initiative to help even without Jingyi opening her mouth. It's a good thing that Tsunade didn't have many steel swords in her pocket, otherwise Jingyi would have really wanted to hold her thighs and cry out for support. Jingdao said, "When we get to the camp, we need the two captains and all our companions to take care of me. After all, I'm just a medical ninja and not good at fighting. Don't worry, as long as we are still there, no one can hurt you." A group of people patted their chests and promised that Jingyi's personal safety would be protected. The impression that medical ninjas have weak combat power has long been deeply rooted in people's hearts. Jingyi made such a request, and the ninjas who went to the camp for rotation were very happy. Everyone wants to build a good relationship with medical ninjas, so isn't this opportunity coming to their doorstep? It was a good thing that Tsunade wasn't here, otherwise he would definitely have punched him. Captain Honda Shao also gave 2 seal scrolls to Jingyi, which contained various medical drugs. As the only medical ninja, these supplies had to be arranged and kept by Jingyi. It saves me that when someone is injured and needs treatment, they are in a hurry and can't find anything. It took the team 2 days to reach their destination. The rotation was smooth and no accidents occurred during the process. Standing in the camp cabin, with his hands behind his back, Jingyi looked up at the gloomy sky and the raindrops all over the sky and sighed, "What a mistake. It seems that I will be really busy in the future." Jingyi thought about the rotation locations, but she didn't expect that the camp where they rotated was at the border of the Kingdom of Rain. What the hell is the Kingdom of Rain? The sky is never sunny for 3 days, and it is covered in heavy rain all year round. It is a country where nothing but rain is rain. If you use one sentence to describe the economic situation of each village and country, Sand Shinobi Village will say that it is so poor that only sand is left, Iwa Shinobi Village will feel aggrieved because it is so poor that only bare stones are left, and Kiri Shinobi Village is so poor that it only has bare stones. They can eat dried small fish, but the poor in Kumo Ninja Village can only eat beef, and the poor in Konoha have nothing but food. On the other hand, Rain Shinobi Village, as its name suggests, has nothing but rain. When he first entered the camp, Jingyi was quite interested in the weather because he liked to stand in the house and watch the rain outside. But after the first, second, and third day, the boredom began to appear. Fortunately, the medical ninja did not need to perform various duties and patrol tasks. Others had to run around in the heavy rain, and Jingyi only had to stay in the camp to rest. "Jingyi, I brought you a gift." Honda, who led the patrol, happily walked into the camp carrying a wild deer. "Captain, this is not a gift for Mr. Jingyi. I think you are greedy for it." "Ha ha ha, you're right, the captain has already complained that the birds are almost fading out of his mouth." "Shut up." Honda's dark face began to turn red, and he pointed at the person who was laughing at him and cursed, "Lousy is greedy, isn't he? There's something fishy in his mouth, isn't he? Just don't eat the barbecue later." A bunch of dogs. I patrolled in the heavy rain and caught a prey on the way back. I wanted to give everyone a snack, but you made fun of me in return. Laughing? Why are you laughing? Go and clean up the prey, then bring some firewood over and make it dry. Again, as long as you are in the land of fire, there will be no shortage of prey. On the contrary, it is more difficult to get firewood, because the continuous heavy rain all year round makes the surrounding plants and trees wet, and the wet wood is difficult to ignite. It is said that it can choke people to death if it is lit. The firewood for the camp is cut and piled in the wooden house in advance, and then taken out for burning when it is completely dry. As a medical ninja, and with good cooking skills, Jingyi quickly integrated into the camp and became everyone's favorite. Looking at the firewood on the ground, Jingyi said mockingly, I didn't expect that the camp medical room hasn't opened yet, but it has turned into a camp kitchen. Ha ha ha. Jingyi's rant made everyone laugh. Complaints are complaints, but you still have to eat barbecue. Little Honda's mouth is about to fade away, and Jingyi is not much better. He chews dry food all day long and eats a few more meals, but he can't stand it. It's no wonder that the ninjas stationed in the camp want to go back to the village and go home. Life in the camp is really painful. Soon, the treated wild deer were placed in the medical room. Xiao Honda, the camp captain, personally came down to help light the fire, and Jingyi was responsible for the barbecue. Deputy Captain Sarutobi Mishima went out on patrol and on duty less often, and stayed in the camp most of the time. After several days of observation, Jingyi discovered that the vice captain seemed to have been paying attention to the medical room. Is it secret guarding or surveillance? Fortunately, he is from the Sarutobi clan. If he were a ninja from the Shimura clan, Shizu would definitely label him as a spy. The aroma of roasted venison soon filled the camp, and everyone was looking forward to it, waiting for the venison to be roasted to prepare the dry food in their hands. Everyone line up for me, no rushing. After the venison was roasted, Captain Honda took out a brand new kunai, wiped the kunai clean and started dividing the meat. A complete hind leg became Jingyi's exclusive part, and everyone else got a piece. No one had any objection to Honda's approach of trying to please Jingyi. After receiving the venison, everyone dispersed and went back to the resting cabin to enjoy the delicious food. Captain Mishima, can we talk? Just when Sarutobi Mishima was about to leave, Shizuchi stopped him. Holding the barbecue in his hand and preparing to go back to the cabin to enjoy the delicious food, Sarutobi Mishima was stunned for a moment, then nodded with a smile and agreed to Shizuchi's invitation. I'm afraid it will be very cold tomorrow. Episode 30, The truth came unexpectedly. Tsunade was furious. Sarutobi Mishima glanced at the snowflakes mixed with the rain, walked into the wooden house, and closed the door of the wooden house. Shizuchi took out 2 bottles of fruit wine brought from the village and invited Sarutobi Mishima to sit down. Other places are already covered in heavy snow. It is because of the special geographical environment of the rain country that it is not covered by heavy snow. However, the sleet will lower the temperature even lower. I didn't expect you to bring such a good thing. It's a pity that it's not sake. I took the opened wine and took 2 sips. The only drawback was that the fruit wine tasted very weak. It was better to call it a drink than a wine. Jingyi picked up the fruit wine and took a sip, joking to himself, I'm still young and not old enough to drink. Sarutobi Mishima couldn't help but be stunned, and burst out laughing after a few seconds. If you didn't tell me, I would have almost forgotten that you are not yet 14 years old. That's great. When I was 14 years old, I was still a chunin. I followed the teacher on missions and was often scolded by the teacher. Hearing this, Jingyi also laughed, and then hit a straight ball. Then Captain Mishima, can you tell me why you keep wandering around? Is it secret protection or surveillance? The laughter stopped suddenly, and Sarutobi Mishima, who was drinking fruit wine and eating barbecue, froze in midair with the hand holding the wine bottle. He looked at Jingyi in astonishment, hesitated for a moment, and said with a wry smile, I didn't expect you to find out. Then, Captain Mishima, can you help me figure it out? Jingyi didn't say how he discovered it. Putting the bottle on the table, Sarutobi Mishima sighed and said helplessly. Master Hokage came to see me specifically before coming here and asked me to protect you secretly. Originally, I was not on the rotation list this time. Captain Honda also knows my secret mission, so he personally leads most of the patrols in the camp, while I mainly sit in the camp to prevent accidents. This also explains why, as captain, Honda needs to personally lead the team on duty and patrol, while Deputy Captain Sarutobi Mishima can always stay in the camp. Protect? It seems like Sarutobi Mishima was lying, so why did 3rd Hokage choose a Jonin from the family and put him in the Samsara lineup to protect him? Did the 3rd Hokage know that he would be assassinated? After stringing together the limited information, Jingyi discovered that he was on the camp's rotation list, probably because he was selected on purpose, rather than by bad luck. But the selection of personnel needs to be decided by the 3rd Hokage, so why did the 3rd Hokage select him and send people to protect him? Isn't this just taking off your pants and farting? Isn't it unnecessary? If you really wanted to protect him, you wouldn't have let him leave the village. So it's not that 3rd Hokage specifically put him in the rotation, but someone else wanted to. But the 3rd Hokage didn't want anything to happen to him, so they sent someone in to protect him. So who is targeting him? Board of Elders? It shouldn't be the case. The position of the elders is the same as that of the 3rd Hokage. I have no fault of the elders. Then there is Shimura Danzo. If the position of Hokage's assistant is pushed to the end, no one would be willing to accept it, let alone a person like Shimura Danzo who is small-minded and ambitious. With the previous warning, Shimura Danzo would not be able to attack him in the village. Under such circumstances, if you still want to take revenge on him, you can only get him out of the village first. As a result, Jingyi's name was included in the rotation list. So how will Shimura Danzo proceed? As the only medical ninja in the camp, Jingyi will not leave the camp easily. There are dozens of ninjas in the camp. It is not easy to kill him under the protection of so many people. Then the vice captain will have to work hard in the days to come. This is my mission, as long as it doesn't cause any misunderstanding. He secretly protected someone, but was caught in a few days. This was extremely uncomfortable for Sarutobi Mishima. Failure. He secretly protected the medical ninja, but was discovered by the other party just after the protection mission had begun. If this spread, Sarutobi Mishima would be humiliated to his grandma's house. After eating and drinking, and feeling full of depression, Sarutobi Mishima left the medical room, dejectedly. Jingyi walked to the fire and looked at the dark night sky outside through the crack in the door. After a long time, Jingyi withdrew his gaze, came to the table, took out a seal scroll, a lot of materials, and a dead crow. This was a prey Jingyi caught on the way to the camp. He planned to make this crow into a puppet to convey information. Jingyi originally planned to make puppets during the new year, and then send a few blessings to Tsunade and Kushina, but now it seems that they need to be used in advance. After preparing the materials and taking out various tools, Jingyi skillfully began to process the crow's body. After the crow's body is processed, various parts and puppet cores are stuffed into the crow's body, and then the chakra unique to the reincarnation eye is injected. Wow! The originally stiff crow suddenly blinked, jumped up from the table, and jumped back and forth on the table. Jingyi took out a pen and a special information transmission scroll, wrote down some things that happened in the camp, and then set a special password. Then he tied the small information scroll to the crow's feet and ordered the crow to fly to Konoha. Send the information scroll back. The crow puppet carrying the information scroll flew into the dark night sky and flew to Konoha, despite the heavy rain. The direction and path of the crow's flight are controlled by Jingyi, so that there will be no mistakes like flying in the wrong direction, finding the wrong place, or finding the wrong person. The crow puppet flew very fast, and flew from the border of Rain Country to Konoha in just a few hours. It flapped its wings and landed at Senju's ancestral home, and then jumped in the direction of Tsunade. After finding the right position, the crow puppet pecked at the glass twice. Tsunade woke up from her sleep, jumped up and opened the window, grabbing the puppet crow standing on the windowsill. Whose psychic beast sent the information scroll to my mother? Fortunately, Tsunade didn't use too much force. Otherwise, if she squeezed hard, she would have discovered that the crow in her hand was not a psychic beast at all, but a puppet. After taking off the rubber band on her head, she tied up the crow puppet's wings and threw the crow puppet aside. Tsunade turned on the light and began to observe the information scroll in her hand. The scroll requires a password to unlock. Tsunade was inexplicably agitated. She didn't even know who sent the information scroll. She didn't have the password in her hand, how could she unlock it? Quiet? Taking the scroll and turning it around, Tsunade discovered that there was a word, quiet, written on the scroll. Could it be the scroll Jingyi passed back? Then the password. Suddenly, Tsunade thought of something, her delicate and pretty face darkened instantly, she clenched the scroll in her hand and cursed through gritted teeth, Hyuga Jingyi, you'd better be careful when you come back. 250. The password is correct. Grass. Tsunade Heim succeeded in using foul language. She had gone to the casino before and lost all her money, leaving only a few steel coins in her pocket. When she counted the number, it was exactly 205, and Jingyi laughed several times. As a result, Shizuchi took this number as a password. Wasn't this exposing Tsunade's scar? Hyuga Jingyi. You have to scold me in a roundabout way when delivering an information scroll, right? You will be dead when you come back. Tsunade, who was holding back her anger, opened the scroll. After looking at it twice, the anger in her heart disappeared. To be precise, her anger towards Shizuchi disappeared. And Shimura Danzo also successfully aroused Tsunade's anger. Duanzo, you are really good. After cursing a few words, Tsunade took the scroll and found Uzumaki Mito. Being quarreled in the middle of the night, Uzumaki Mito was not in a very good state of mind. After reading the scroll handed over by his granddaughter, Uzumaki Mito knew that his granddaughter would not just sit there and ignore it. Little Tsunade, what do you want to do? Do you need Grandma to help you? Tsunade said, Grandma, I need a letter sent to Daming Mansion. I want to visit Daming Mansion. Yes, after all, the new year is coming, so I should visit. Uzumaki Mito expressed support.